I'm your host, Destiny Sidwell.
I'm also your host, Sarah Crowley.
And this is Bookmark'd. If you Google something nowadays, wow, I've started to feel old lately.
Instead of when? 2010?
Yeah. However long Google's been around, now when you Google, it freaking puts the Google AI as like the first thing that you see. Like if you Google something really quick, I will say though, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it's not helpful. I'm not going to pretend like it's not helpful.
It actually gives you an answer so quick. Instead of having to go to like the first link now, it just like compiles it and puts it there for you.
It like goes through all of it, and I'm like, I'm a hater of AI, but then things like that where I'm like, I'm not even seeking it out, but it's helping me in this way. It makes me so mad. It makes me so mad. But
I'm too lazy to research, so it just gives me the answers it's finding.
I know.
So
I
quickly.
think there was such a specific question that I asked. I was like, it had to do with a book series, and I asked a question like something about a character in a book series just in Google, and then that Google AI popped up, and I was like... I literally
did that today. I searched... Someone posted something. It was like, I need another book with, like, that's, like, these characters, and just put the character names, not the book. So I searched just the two character names, and it gave me the book right there, and I was like...
Y'all, when we're on TikTok, and you're, like, talking about a book... Put it at least in the hashtags. That's all I'm asking for. There's so many times that I'm like, I'm somebody who always goes to the caption first before I go to the comments, because I'm like, I'm not about to be in here asking in the comments. Like, I'll just, if they put it in the caption. But then when y'all don't put it in the hashtags, I'm like, okay, what was the point?
Someone in the comments has the answer. They know.
Yeah, but then you got to go searching for it. Because then everybody in the comments just knows. Like, they're all in the know with each other. So then they're not like, oh, yeah, it's this book. And then I got to scroll to find the person who's like me.
The one comment that says, what's the name of the book? Name of the book, question mark?
Yeah.
Book name?
Yeah, and I'm like, that's me, unfortunately, but if there's not a comment doing that, I just am like, unfortunately, I'll just never read it.
Yeah.
If it's meant for me, it'll find me.
Exactly. No, I do the same thing. That's so funny. We're all on the same page. All living the same life.
Yeah.
Well, hi, everyone. Welcome back to Bookmark. Welcome to this week's episode. Very exciting, because not only we're going to talk about our April book. Wait, no. Hold on. Our March book. The months are going too fast. We're also...
The way I fully was like, yes, our April book. What do you mean?
Yeah, right? It feels like April already happened. Our March book, and we also have our April book we will be reading this month, which is really exciting, because I'm already well over halfway through. I'm ahead of the game this month, not going to lie. Drum roll, pretty please. Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez.
Say You'll Remember Me.
Yeah, I feel like you have to sing it. That's like,
how
you remember that one
book?
What was that one book? Only Love Can Hurt Like This, and every time I saw that title, I had to sing it.
Only love can hurt like this.
But yeah, Queen Abby Jimenez is our April book. Really excited about this. So
it looks short.
But it looks short because I put my...
Oh, you have the thing over
bookmark.
It. Okay.
Yeah.
I was about to say, that looks like a novella.
My dust jacket's on holding my space for me, and I told you I'm like kind of halfway, so it's in the middle there. I think it's like 350 pages, but it's so cute, the hardcover, because look in the beginning. Hold on. It has like this little quote in the beginning. It says, everything starts with you, but then the back of it says, and ends with you, but like
stop. I'm gonna have to go to Barnes & Noble and get it. I'm gonna have to go.
I didn't realize. I got home. Well, actually, I went to Barnes, and I left my house to be the first person at Barnes. I got to the parking lot at 8:58. I was their first customer, and I was so embarrassed because I was looking for it, and like, there's going to be a table of these books. It's like a very popular new release, but there wasn't a table, so I was like, they didn't put it out yet, and like I wasn't leaving without it, so I was just like walking around, and I was like, maybe they put it in the romance, but like I saw the stand with the boxes they had to unpack, and I was like, I gotta ask them. I said, I'm so sorry.
Yep, I've been in that position before too.
This book just came out. I was like, please, can I have it? But they were so nice about it, but I just felt bad.
Yeah, because here's the thing. They already, like, they were about to put it out anyway. So they're like, oh, okay, here. Like, because that's happened to me where my mom has had to go and tell them, hey, can you go get that book off the cart? Because I'm not doing it. Let me tell you something. me going into a Barnes & Noble, one, if I can't find it myself, I would rather die than ask. I'm like, oh, I'll just deal with it.
What was worse? The music wasn't even on yet. Like, it was just a silent Barnes & Noble.
Oh, you were literally, like, waiting outside of these doors, and they were, like, silent.
Yeah,
like, they were, like...
Yeah, they were checking me out, and I was like, am I your first customer? Like, I have to be. And she was laughing.
So he was like, am I the first customer of the day? Or, like, is this,
I felt so bad.
Don't feel bad because that's just them doing their job. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't do anything out of the...
Me feeling bad. It's okay.
Yeah. No, however, I texted Sarah this probably a week ago or a week and a half ago, something like that. I don't know. I can't remember. And I said, Sarah, say you'll remember me as in a hardback.
Mm-hmm. It's not what I was expecting.
We've lost another baddie to capitalism because the authors that start out with the paperbacks, because it's different publishers. Like, I think once you, like, sign with a big publisher, they all do that, where, like, now your release gets put in hardback. But, you know, like, if you know, Abby Jimenez was just a straight to paperback queen. And then I saw that, I watched her video, and she was talking about all the different special editions you can get. Yeah, I was like, I'm heartbroken. And then I quite literally have been telling myself this whole entire time, like, no, I'm not going to go run and get it because I'm not buying the hardback. Like, I am just going to buy the paperback. But then, before Sarah even showed me that Barnes & Noble edition, which I need, I was like, but you have the hardback from Book of the Month for just for the summer and the paperback for just for the summer. So, like, you can go get the hardback. You can
get the hardcover. The thing is, I know people don't like when they switch it because, like, it doesn't match the shelf, which that doesn't bother me. It's more like I don't like reading a romance book as a hardcover for some reason.
Yeah.
Like, fantasy in my head, hardcover, sure. Romance should be a paperback.
See, for me, if a fantasy is, like, a hardcover, it's giving me the ick. I don't know why. I need it to be floppy. Because, you know, it's going to be long. Like, imagine, Kingdom of Ash and reading it in the hardback.
Impossible. No, I understand. No, yeah. I just like paperback, period. But, like, if we're going to have to get the hardcover, we're going to have to do it.
You know what's hardcover for me? What? Fiction books. Fiction books, hardcover.
Yeah. A good old contemporary fiction hardcover book.
If it's not hardcover, I feel weird. Now, you want to know what's never a hardcover?
What?
Thrillers. Thrillers are never a hardcover.
Yeah, it doesn't feel right. Especially because they're so short. So it's just like a thin... Well, I feel like they're short, and there's like a thin hardcover.
I remember, what was it, last year, Riley Sager's new release, like, it came out in a hardback, and I think also The House Across the Lake before that came out in hardback, and I was like... This is, like, not the best reading experience.
I think
readers are so picky.
We're just going to have to accept, though, that we're going to have to accept and normalize first time it's coming out. Like, the first... Not first time it's coming out. When a book is published, it's probably going to be hardcover. Now we're going to have to wait for the paperback. And
the day that happens to Annabelle Monaghan's books, I'm literally going to, like, mourn. I'm literally going to be like...
She's next.
She is, and I know she's next. And I'm going to be like... Because those books, her paperbacks do something to me.
Yeah.
I'm like,
they're short and sweet and cute.
Yeah. So what is it going to be like in a hardback? I don't know.
We'll have to wait for that day. Hopefully it never comes. But excited about this. This is in the same world if you read Just for the Summer and that little interconnected.
Yeah.
Nothing's really happened in that sense. But if you read Just for the Summer, there's a little cameo apparently that I kind of remember vaguely. But this so far is good, but I'm not going to say anything because we're going to talk about it.
That's for April's episode that comes out in May.
Yep. So stay tuned, and I hope you guys are excited. Do you have a dope today?
I know, I'm excited. Yeah, I do.
Pick mine up?
Yeah.
What do you got?
Mine is my new current hyperfixation. It is this pineapple dragon fruit diet lemonade from Chick-fil-A.
It actually sounds really good.
It's so good. Yes, it's such a... Well, this one's a little bit watered down, I know. Everybody gasps. Because when does Destiny
drinking a watered down drink?
You know it has to be good if I'm still drinking it watered down. And it was so good. I got it for the first time, like, a few days ago. And then I left it in the fridge. I never do this. Like, usually if I get a drink, I'm like, okay. Like, either I finish it or it just gets thrown away. And I put it in the fridge because I was like, I don't want to drink all of it right now, but I'm going to want more of it either tonight or tomorrow. And then it was the next day, and my mom was like about to throw it away. And I said, don't you touch that.
There's more left in that.
There is more left in that, and then I drank all of it, and then today I was literally like, I need another one. So it's like the drink of the summer. I'm telling you guys, it's so good.
Everyone has to try one now. That's like what I was obsessed with when Starbucks, like, this was maybe like 2019. They had the guava drink. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yep, I remember that.
God, they were doing someone doing that, and they got rid of that, and I was so upset. I got one like every single day before work. I would pick one up, and that was my drink of the day.
I remember that. I was all over the Starbucks refreshers when I was in high school. I was all over them.
So good. Well, I have a matcha. I'm really excited about it. I've been making them with, well, I saw that people were putting those little core cow protein drinks that we drink into their coffees, and like a protein coffee, and I was like, I can do that with my matcha.
Yeah, you can do it with matcha.
I've been doing that with the little vanilla one, and it's so delicious because I don't sweeten it with vanilla like I usually do the cinnamon and honey, but now I just do this, and now it's like a vanilla matcha, and it's so delicious. And Lauren gave me a bright idea because they have the strawberry one, so I can make a strawberry matcha protein version. Really
that would hit. You do have to get it. I love those protein milks. The strawberry, chocolate, and vanilla, every single one of them. I've never had like a protein drink that I like that.
Yeah, I tried Own. Is that how you say it? You know which one I'm talking about, the brand? Own? Something like that.
But I know what you're talking about.
It was so thick. It was like a creamer. And I was like, I can't believe, like, I couldn't imagine just drinking that as just like a
That's my thing with a lot of like protein shakes, but they're like milk. It's like, it's so thick. Mm-hmm.
Ugh. Well, try this and let me know if you guys like it. If you drink the core power.
I need to get on my matcha, but I want to make it at home.
You should.
Like, I don't want to go get it.
I will literally send you my powder so you can make it at home.
You have your own matcha powder? You're like, I'm actually coming out with my own matcha powder.
I'll literally, I'll send it to you. Shall we get into our March book?
We shall. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I don't have the physical copy of it, so I'm rocking with my Kindle.
That's okay. I have my notes on my Kindle.
Yeah, no, I like to highlight and annotate on my iPad because have you noticed this? Like, if you annotate on your Kindle, the annotations don't show up on your phone.
No, you said that
if you try to reference
but, like,
them.
Mine do.
Ugh, mine don't.
I don't know so maybe we have to fix yours. Well,
I'm doing something wrong for sure.
I don't highlight this much when I'm reading books on my Kindle, but for the sake of like the book club, like I wanted to highlight every like thought I had. So there's a lot of them, obviously. And I was reading this when I was in Florida, and I went onto Goodreads just to like update. I don't know what I was updating, but I saw someone, and then it was on my feed. It said liked Sarah's like note or something.
You did not realize that you had them on public?
All of them. I had no idea they were all public. I don't want anyone seeing that unless I verbally tell you what I have highlighted.
I learned that. I will say I had the same learning moment, but I had it literally probably like 3 to 4 years ago because I was reading, I still remember Marriage for One by Ella Mace, and I had highlighted like a few things in it. Like, it was like I think it still pops up in my Goodreads, or I may have removed it by now, but it's like, I don't like texting, text me anyway. Like, oh, you don't like texting, well, text me anyway. And I thought that ate. And then I realized, like, when I went back to like look and I saw updates and somebody was like liked it or something, I was like, oh my god. But this is like back when I like first got a Kindle, so like I didn't know anything about it, and so I was like, oh yeah, that's going on private immediately. Never
it's like
again.
There's never anything bad, but like my highlights and like my annotations are just like for me. Like, those are not for you.
No, like you said, it's so vulnerable. Like, unless you choose to share them. Like, I tell my family, this is so morbid a little bit. I always tell my family, I'm like, you know, like, if something ever happened to me, like, I think you guys should fight over my favorite books because, like, there's annotations and thoughts that I have written in there that's, like, frozen in time of, like, some of my favorite things.
Fight over it.
But only if I die. Like, only if I die. Like, never look through that one. Ever.
I know, it's like when people want to borrow your books, but they're annotated. I remember I did that once, and I didn't realize it was annotated, and Chris's sister asked to borrow, like, one of these romance books, and I let her, and I'm walking through the house in Ocean City. I walk behind her, and I see a highlight in the book. I said, oh, no. I annotated the book, and I let her read it, and I didn't know. I was so embarrassed.
Imagine somebody reading your annotations of Magnolia Parks. Hey, can I read this? And you're like,
nope. Actually, nope. Well, I think it's because it's like so, like while someone else is reading your annotations and they see you annotate that they know that part like you
spoke
really
to
like
you.
Yeah, it spoke to you, and then like they're perceiving you, and I don't want to be perceived ever. So
it's hard being perceived because we are perceived every single day.
I hate it.
Unfortunately, it's something I've been battling with actually, but not to sound like this person, but I have been listening to the Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins.
Me too. I'm halfway through right now.
So and I'm trying to let go of what people perceive of me because I can't control it. So I'm like,
it's easier said than done. Like she could tell me all she wants to let it go, and I'm like, I understand. Like I could grasp it up here, but like actually practicing it.
I will say though, listening to that book, I was listening to it on my road trip, right? So imagine me locked in driving for 17 hours and listening to the Let Them Theory. And then she was like, when she described, and I'm not a self-help, okay, 1 second, let me pronounce that correctly. I'm not a self-help book person, you guys. Like motivation doesn't work on me. I could literally hire a personal motivator to sit here every single day and it would not work. Like it just does not work. And for the first time, I think it helped me specifically because I realized I have a control issue, period. I'm like, I need to be in control of everything. So realizing in my head that part of why that messes with me so bad is because of the lack of control I feel. And I want to control people's feelings of how they feel about me. Like immediately I'm like, I want to reply because I want to control what you think because you're thinking the wrong thing in me. But then I was like, no, you can't control things. Like when she said in the book, people are not going to like you and they're going to talk shit about you. And like, that's just what it is. I was like, you're so right.
A lot of the things she's saying, like she's not wrong. So
no, she's not wrong.
Yeah. It's also nothing groundbreaking too, which is crazy. She's just saying like what we've been new. Like she's just really like,
I thought that too. I was like, people have been saying let them for like ever. Like I remember even like going and telling like my mom and dad something, they'd be like, let them, who cares? But the way that she structures it and she's like, let them, but let me, it's actually really helped me because I've been like, let them say something and let me react in a healthy way that's not going to damage me and do something good for myself. Like that's a mantra I put in my head.
I'm really happy that you started listening to it though, because I feel like you like it and it's helping you.
It's the first self-help book that's ever helped me in my whole entire life.
Period. Let it be Mel Robbins then.
Thanks, Mel Robbins. Hopefully we're going to hear on the podcast soon.
I would just let her talk the whole time. I wouldn't even like, just let her preach.
I would have a moment. Like, did you watch the Jake Shane episode with her on it? Or the clip?
No, but I saw some clips.
Yeah, where he's like, I have really thick skin. And then she looks at him and he goes, no, I don't. She goes, no, you don't. And I was like, I can't handle somebody looking at me and be like, you're not as tough as you think you are.
I want to talk to her so she can like therapy me. I want her to be my therapist for just like one session.
Okay, back to Promise Me Sunshine.
Okay, Promise Me Sunshine.
Promise Me Sunshine? Yeah.
Should we start with ratings, reviews? Do you have a review anywhere? Are you just a rating?
I wrote a very snippet of a review because I was like, review to come. Do you know I love saying that?
RTC.
When I'm in my review era, or like it's like as a reminder to myself, I'm like, I'll put like a little sentence and then I'm like, review to come. And people are waiting to this day. I saw one of my Goodreads reviews from like years ago and it was like, more review to come soon. People have been waiting on that for like 3 years.
You should drop it.
I know. People are going to be like, thank God that she wrote the rest of this review.
Yeah. All right, what's your review and what's your rating?
I gave it a 4.25. Why do I always feel so annoying when I rate something with a quarter star? But it wasn't a 4 and it wasn't a 4.5 for me. Mm-hmm. But the reason it wasn't a 4.5, it was very close, was because I had such a hard time at the beginning and I genuinely cannot unpack if that was the book slump or I just really was not feeling it at the beginning of the book. Like I did not. Do you want to know what it was? Do you remember a specific moment? Oh, I wish I highlighted it. At the beginning of the book. I probably
did. I have like 100 highlights.
Well, because I started on my physical copy and then I went over to my Kindle.
Let me look if I have it. What is it?
She sees Miles for the first time. And she
Is it her scenario that she made of him?
No, but I did cringe through that. When she would do little scenarios, I'm going to be so honest. I was like, do you remember? Wait, have you read Hello Stranger? I always forget if you have or not.
Yes, but...
By Catherine Center. But remember that when I was reading that and I looked at you and without telling you, I was like, this main character... Because she did the same thing. She would, like, see guys, and then she would, like, do this inner monologue in her head of, like, we're going to get married and this and this and this. That's what our FMC did in this book, and that cringed me out. But no, my thing was when she looks at him and she's describing how he looks, and then she describes him as, like, not hot. Like, she's like, yeah, he's not that attractive.
I do remember that. I was like, that part. Yeah, wait, so... Yeah.
I was like, so you're looking at him, and you're like, yeah, he's not that attractive. Well, what the hell am I supposed to think? Like, I'm like, what? How is this supposed to work for me? Like, not even just, like, imagining him, but, like, your first impression of this man is that he's not that attractive to you. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it was the beginning. You just, like, I wrote in my review that I couldn't fathom a romance occurring. Period.
No, I think that's why I was having such a hard time, because the way that both of them were in the beginning, even like when they first, like when he goes on the ferry and they strike up the deal of like he helps her with the to-do list, I was like, I cannot imagine these two people like for the rest of the story. Like, I cannot do it.
Me too. But she did such a good job, because I mean, by then, totally
I know.
Happy for them.
It took me a little bit though. Yeah, and I feel like that's why it wasn't a 4.5 for me.
But I do think it's good writing on her part, because the slow burn worked so well that by the end of it, I was like, I can't believe I didn't see this happening between them, because it just made more sense.
Yeah, I really liked it. I liked the progression of the relationship. Like, I really liked them as friends. Like, I wasn't in a rush to get anywhere, and I don't even feel like there was really anything that they were, like, stalling. I just feel like it was really good pacing of, like, where, like, how we were going about the relationship. And like I said, I already said it, but I feel like the scenes of them as friends I really liked.
Yeah. I don't know where I said this, because it was also our book club book for the Patreon, so it might have been in that video, but it was like Lenny in the beginning is in such a dark place with her grief. Like, she's really in the depths of the beginnings of it, and it made sense that we couldn't really see a romance happening, because like she, in her point of view, is not ready for any type of romance. So it's like, maybe he's not attractive to her at that moment, because she can't even like fathom being in a relationship of any sort. So like, it made sense why there was no romantic connection in the beginning. It was like not the point of the story. It was more about the grief and like Lenny, how down she was, and them meeting. But then like slowly, Miles, like, he ate, and he cared so much.
He did eat as time went on, and I was so confused for a majority of the book about him and his sister. I was like, what's going on here? Because like, we didn't explain the dynamic between them until probably like 60% into the book, but we kept talking about the animosity between them, and I was like, okay, this is kind of driving me crazy. Like, what's wrong with them?
I felt bad in the beginning. He had, like, hold on, my rating was a 4, by the way. I have a long review, but I'll say it at the end just because it's just long. We could talk about our thoughts first. But what was I saying?
We were talking about his sister, and like you said in the beginning, he did something, and you felt bad.
Yep, he did. What did he do? Okay. Well, hopefully that one comes back to me. Well, I have no idea where I was going with that.
I felt bad because he was like, at first, okay, the very first time he shows up, his attitude and like him talking to his sister and being like, Lenny looks like she's on drugs. I was like, there were so many things in that first meeting that I was like, I don't know if I can get down with, like, you know. But then when he like keeps showing up in the attitude that both the child and the sister are giving him, I was like,
Yeah, I think it was hard because we didn't get, like you said, a lot of scenes or just even talks about like their history and their dynamic and stuff. But in the beginning, the first impression was so bad with Miles. Like it's okay to have like a grumpy character, but he was like low-key kind of mean, and like,
yes,
even he was calling his sister up and saying how Lenny was just like not the right like fit for them, and she's like letting Ainsley do all this stuff, and I was like, who are you to talk when you don't have a relationship with her either, and you think she's gonna listen to you? And then he's just like hovering over them all the time. And like at the end, I was like, okay, I understand he didn't understand how to like be a part of their lives, so it's kind of endearing that he wanted to, and he was trying, but he just didn't know how to do it the right way. But since we didn't know him in the beginning, I was like, you're standing way too close and you're kind of being annoying.
But that's what I mean by like, it took us so long for that to be explained that I was like, okay, like we've been in the dark too long with this.
Quicker. And remember when he didn't tip the waiter in the beginning?
Oh my God, no, I tried to put that on my mind. I literally read that and I was like,
and they like didn't really explain it. Like she said, did he say something about me? And he said like yes or whatever. So like they never really said what he said that warranted no tip. But like I want to know.
I feel like I remember they said I feel like he said something along the lines of what it was, and it was like gross.
I forget then.
And like very like degrading like type of thing that he was saying about her.
I don't remember. And then there was another part where
it would cost nothing when she freaked out on you over not tipping to like just look at her and be like, that guy was saying something. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't even need to know somebody to like explain that to somebody.
Yeah.
Because if you have that strong of a feeling about it, look at somebody and go, hey, he was saying something really gross about you. Like, I'm not.
Yeah. Instead of letting her like hate him over it. And then there was one part which she was like leaving the apartment, and that's when she met one of the friends she ends up being friends with, and he like almost gets hit with the car, and she like runs up to the driver and like starts yelling at him, and I like, someone had to stop her. Like, you cannot go up to a man in New York and start putting your finger in their face. Oh
my God, no.
Not that in this economy.
No. I was like, girl, do you see the news? do you watch it?
I was so nervous. And I love this in books, just period, when something's happening and then like the other main character just happens to be there. Like, he's just walking down the street and like stops it and sees her. I love when that happens, because that's just like would never happen in real life, and he was just there to help like tell her to like stop. So that was a crazy scene. And I did like about the book, well, I also read Ready or Not after this. I wanted to read it before it, but I read it after it. And I like that she writes it takes place in New York. Like, I love books that take place in New York for some reason. So I really liked that. And she was like in Brooklyn, but also in the city, and I liked that, and I liked the setting. I thought it was fun. So, like, she has her list, so there's so much you can do, and I think that the author really like utilized that. Like, they were at random clubs and going also driving, camping, and all this stuff. Like, there was so much the characters were able to do, like so many different scenes. So I thought that was fun.
Like the realness, it made me think of when we had to get your car when we were in New York, because the scene where they talk about how he gets his Jeep out and like how they had to go through all the stuff, like how he parks his car in the city. I was like, this feels so real, like slice of life. Like, this is actually how it should be.
Yeah, and I kind of liked how this one, like, there was a plot, but it kind of felt like there wasn't, because it was like so slow burn and just like trying to help Lenny through her grief. And I kind of liked it for this one. Like, it made sense because you could really see through every day like how Lenny was doing with it, and like what Miles did to kind of help eventually. So I liked that, because usually I feel like I get not bored, but like when there's not much going on, it's like I need a little something. But I liked that this one was more character driven.
I feel the same way, because I was a little like on the fence about, because I'm not a big person who's into the like the to-do list thing. You know what I mean? Where it's like, trying to like knock ideas off the to-do list. Usually I'm like, ugh. You either like don't commit enough to it, or it's just like so overdone by the time that it's over that you're just annoyed with it. But this one did it really well, where I feel like we were focusing on it, but also we weren't at the same time.
Yeah. It was like the main plot of what they were doing, but it wasn't like brought up every other scene.
Yeah.
I also, there was a few quotes that I had that with like Miles kind of helping her through the grief, because he also obviously went through it so many times. I'm trying to see which one was the first one I saw. Oh, this one. It said, I've been there, Lenny, right where you are, where you lose control of your life and nothing makes sense anymore. When you can't remember how basic things function, like when to eat or shower. Grief, it's not like any other emotion. It's utterly discombobulating, among many other things. And I think if it had to be anyone to help her through it, I think Miles was perfect for it, because of how much he's gone through. And like where she's at, she can't really see the other side of it, where it's still with her, but she like could feel a bit better. But like he knows kind of how that feels, so like he was able to kind of show her and explain to her he's better. I don't know. I thought that he was the right person for it, even though in the beginning I was like, I don't know how he's going to do it.
He definitely was, because I that was, I think, one of my favorite things about this book was that the way that grief was shown but also handled. Like, grief is throughout the whole entire book, and I feel like it was realistically handled, because like sometimes when we talk about grief in books and then by the end it's kind of like all tied up with a bow and you're kind of like, oh yeah, like obviously it's something that's always still going to live with me, but like I'm fine. It was like I didn't feel like that in the book. Like, obviously Lenny is a lot better than she was at the start, but grief is definitely still something that like 100% walks with her in life. And it was like, I feel like very realistic of a depiction of being drowned in your grief versus surviving with your grief at the end of the book.
Yeah. And it was like, even towards the end, like she still had her moments where she had to step away and like cry about it and stuff. And like Miles let her do that. Like, he never said like, stop crying over it, like whatever, like get past it. He like let her feel all the emotions she had to feel. So I liked that too. I also liked the way that grief throughout the book was just like, it was always there. It's always going to be there for Letty. We're in her point of view, so it's never gonna, go away. And there was one part in the book that I liked. This is when I started to like Miles and kind of like what he was doing to help Lenny. And it was, I think they were like leaving each other from like doing one of the things on the list. And he said, can you like change the thing in the battery in my apartment? And it said, when I get back to the studio apartment, I change the batteries right away so I don't forget. I'm confused though because the light is already blinking green even before I change them. I collapse onto the twin bed and pull out my phone. Pretty slick, I text Miles. A few minutes pass and then, what? You assigned me a fake chore just to make sure I go back to this apartment tonight? Like, to make sure she's not sleeping on the ferry, or like, he knows she's not going to go back to her apartment, so he gave her a fake task. To make
he got the game pretty quickly with her, I feel like. Like, he got it very quick of, like, what she was doing.
Yeah. But then she, like, I think as the story went on, I understood Lenny's personality, and even though she made me cringe, like, physically so many times, I was like, that's just how Lenny is. Like, I kind of have to let her do her, and I saw someone compare her to, Jess from New Girl, like some, like, just actions and personality traits. And I thought the same thing, and I was like, yeah, I could see that. So there was one part, and I highlighted it, and it said, well, my note was, why did she do that? And it said, I mean, sorry to offend your vanity, but it's an objective fact. This time I used my hands to squinch my face into a grotesque shape and waggle my tongue at him. Like, why did you do that?
No, there were so many of those moments of things that she would say or do that would cringe me out a little bit. And I was like, but... yeah, it was like, this is her character, but that comparison of, like, Jess from New Girl, because I have said so many times, just, like, Jess from New Girl, I love that show so much, and I do love Jess, but I'm like, it's very hard for me to watch it sometimes, because you do just cringe, because you're like, but I guess it's just hard, because if you're a specific type of person, you couldn't imagine doing those type of things, but also I feel like when you're going through grief like that, it kind of makes you detach from reality a little bit, so you also don't have those, like, social cues that you would have without that.
Yeah, that's like when she jumped in that guy's face that almost like hit that her like new friend or whatever. It's like she's just like, she's gonna jump in whoever's face at that moment. She doesn't really care at that point. So yeah, her actions, like, it made sense for her. Like, as I got to know her, I was like, okay, Lenny's just being Lenny. Like, that's just how she acts. And then we found out, I don't really know where we're at right now, I'm just going through my notes, that, like, it made more sense a little bit why Reese doesn't like Miles, because she didn't know about him until, like, 2 years ago. And I thought that it was just, she just didn't like him because he was...
overbearing.
Yeah. But, I mean, it makes sense why she resented him a bit, but I think it was hard because she couldn't resent what her father did because her father wasn't there anymore. So it was, like, a hard family situation, period. But I do wish we got... No, I don't know about dual point of view. I would have actually liked Miles' point of view, maybe a little bit, but maybe just a little bit more into that. Because he would explain his past, but...
It's hard when you introduce something like that at the very beginning, and then you don't dive deep enough into it. Like I said, it was like, at the very beginning, we established that there's, like, animosity between them, and then we constantly bring it back up through the story. But it made sense that, I think Miles... Does Miles say it? That he understands, like, it's not even necessarily about him. No, she tells Lenny this when she's drunk, when she comes home drunk, that, you know, her dad, like, made this album acting like it was for her, but when she found out, like, it was really because he was cheating on her mom, and it was because he knew that he was having another kid, like, so it kind of makes her life feel like it was flipped upside down, because she thought she had this, like, amazing dad that did all these things to show publicly for them. So Miles coming in and kind of flipping that idea on its head, it's, like, not even really Miles, it's more of, like, what he represents for the catastrophe of her life.
Yeah, it ended up making more sense as it went on, like, the way Reese felt. I think they just needed to talk about it, and eventually they kind of did. One thing I did love that Miles did was he knew that Lenny, like, he would push Lenny to do things like go to the concert with that guy or whatever, try to make friends and, like, do things, but, like, as soon as she called him, like, his shoes are already on and, like, he's out the door and he's, like, meeting her wherever he has to be.
Yeah.
To be there for her. Like, that was, like, he showed up. Like, maybe his words weren't great sometimes, but, like, his actions were definitely there every time.
Literally, the one of the highlights that I have that, because and I highlighted this without even thinking that it was going to become a thing later into the book, but I just thought that it was very sweet. And it's where Lenny is talking about and says, I want to carry a framed 8x10 of her everywhere I go. If I'm with people who didn't know her, I continue. I want to talk about her incessantly. If I'm with people who did know her, I can't figure out why they're not talking about her. And then when he gives her the locket with her picture in it so that she can always, like, have it to just show people.
I'll cry right now. Like, that is, like, he listens to what she's saying and he understands what she needs. Yeah, that part was so good, too. He, like, whipped it out of nowhere. And I was like, my heart.
And didn't he thrift it? Because Lenny talked about, like, how she kind of thrifts a lot of things. And, like, he went and thrifted it.
Yeah. I liked the part, where I noticed, I feel like, where Lenny started noticing she had feelings for him. I thought it was funny because she's the type, like, I guess when she, like, has a crush or she's noticing that she's kind of liking him, like, she can't make eye contact with him. And I thought that part was kind of funny. And then when they were going to get glasses and he tried on all these glasses, she, like, was noticing that he's attractive and he's trying on all these glasses. And then he ended up buying her, like, the cheetah lens or whatever. I thought it was very, what's the word? I don't know. So Lenny. Like, she just, like, couldn't make eye contact. She was being so awkward about it. And he's like, what's wrong? And she, like, would just, like, I don't know.
It's giving, ever since we did the Jess comparison, it's giving when, like, in New Girl, her and Nick are shopping and, like, they're in the store and, like, she needs to get toilet paper, and then she notices that his body language, like, he's always, like, shifted his feet towards her. Remember, that was, like, a whole entire thing. And, like, but then when she notices that it's like he has feelings for her, she's like, oh my god.
And Lenny started noticing, and that's when she started, like, spiraling a little, and it was like, that's so Lenny to do that. But another part that I was like, Bar's kind of, like, on the floor, but, like, also really sweet that he, like, since she stayed at his apartment a lot with him and just, like, slept on the couch or whatever, and he always had the 2-in-1, but he started washing her hair and she looked up and he bought shampoo and conditioner because she stays all the time. It's like, oh, that's really sweet.
Bar is on the floor, but it's, like, the reality that not many people would actually, like, go out of their way and go buy the shampoo and conditioner.
Yeah, like, he upgraded it from the 2-in-1, like, as he should, because Lenny stays there. Like, she has a toothbrush there. I thought that was sweet. And when they got... Let me see if I can find the quote, because I know it was around that part. Okay, she wanted to cut her hair off. She wanted to chop it, and she was freaking out. And he was like, no. And she was like, I need to have, like, a permanent decision right now. So they go get the tattoos. And they get, like, the wolf calling. And I was like, that's odd to get, like, matching wolf tattoos.
I actually put that out of my brain. I couldn't...
But the explanation was kind of cute because he said, so when you hear a wolf call and then in the distance you hear another wolf call back, do you know what that can be roughly translated as? What's that? The first one saying, I'm here, and then the other one says, me too, me too. And I was like, it kind of represents them because it's like a lone wolf calling into, like, the void, but, like, anytime they call, the other one's, like, coming, or, like, they're also there, or whatever it is. And that's, like, literally Miles. Like, he's always there when Lenny calls. So it was kind of cute. But, like, also, the first time they said they got wolves on them, I was so confused. Like, that was not what I was expecting.
But that's what it was. Like, I loved the explanation, but the imagery in my head of, like, them just having, like, a wolf on their back. Like, I couldn't do it. I was picturing, like, you know those, like, wolf pictures that I send you? with like the quote on them. Like that's what I was picturing in my head.
Yeah. You know that it's like the meme that says I have the wolf in me or whatever that meme is.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm regularly sending those to Sarah. And I was like, that's what I was picturing in my head. I don't know. I loved them falling in love though. I highlighted this where she says, "Hi," I say to him, and it takes every whatever of strength I have not to draw a little heart on the ground with my big toe. The imagery of that, like her just being so sweet with it, she just like wants to do this little like bash, so like, hey.
One thing I love about this author is she shows how Lenny feels rather than telling. Like Lenny never says like, "Oh, that was sweet," or "I liked the way he said that," or whatever. Like she says it like in that way. There was one part at the end, and they were really far away from each other, but I don't remember what he said. I have it highlighted when we get there. I could read it, but like it felt like they were so much closer than they were, and she like had all these feelings, and she said it felt like, I don't know, that they were so much closer than like 6 feet apart or whatever it was, and I was like, I can feel the tension between you two now. What else do I have? Oh, I also like towards like the middle and end, like when they started connecting more and I could like see the romance and how Miles cares, I liked that they were kind of like friends first. It just made sense that they were friends first, and how he got to understand her so well before like seeing anything romantic or caring a lot, because then he like understood that when she says weird things or random things, like he just knows that's just like Lenny, and he like understood her, and I thought that was really nice.
Yeah, I have a passage highlighted where she says, "Nutella croissant, Bruce Willis movie marathon. I'll go back to the sporting goods store and see if that married guy will go on a date with you. I come to a full stop and put my hands on my hips. How do you know me so well? It's creepy." He laughs and rubs at his eyebrows. "It's not creepy, Lenny. It's called friendship."
Aww.
I was like,
yeah, that's literally exactly what I was just saying in a quote.
Yes. I was like, that is unfortunately also relatable to me, where I'm like,
I think she needed a companion before she needed a boyfriend, and I think that's
100%.
what Miles did for her. This part was sweet. I think this is when they were on their camping trip, which I like that they also like he like tried to push her to go out and like make friends and stuff, because he's not very social, so her doing that like helped him as well. But they were on their little camping trip, and he said, "Lenny, the stakes are low with you because you're the most loyal person I've ever met. You're fully on my team. Now that you're here, I think there's very little I could do to kick you out. I don't have to worry about losing you. I can just relax." I was like, oh, that's really sweet. Like, because we see how she feels about him, but like he kind of said finally a little bit of how he feels like being in her presence, and I was like, that's really cute.
It is so cute.
I don't remember, because you said this quote somewhere, and it was the part where she like met up with her mom at the cemetery after she like noticed that she was having feelings for Miles, and she was like freaking out, and then she called her mom, and her mom said, "He treats you well," and then she said, "Mom, he walked into hell and dragged me back out." And I was like,
which is literally what he did. He was like her guardian angel with all of that.
Mm-hmm. Like I could just picture when she said that, like that's literally how he helped her. Like she was at such the low point, and he literally walked through it with her. Let's see. I liked this part. It says it was like when she was with her mom, and they were like kind of arguing a little bit because she hasn't called her in a while, and she's like avoiding her. It says, "I roll my eyes like a teenager and unlock a flood of lovely chemicals. How wonderful to be casually annoyed at my mother. How wonderful for my mother to boss me around and threaten me with her overbearing presence. How wonderful to word vomit my thoughts and fears to her in one big gob and have her say the wrong things." And it's like, even if they're arguing, she's like saying how like grateful she is for her mom and just having a mom-daughter relationship in that moment. And I thought that was sweet.
When her mom is like kind of getting into her, rightfully so, about like calling and like literally about to hire a private investigator, when her mom says, "I don't want to lose another daughter," because her mom basically was saying like it feels like when when Lenny's best friend died, that like she had already lost a daughter because of how close they were. I was like,
I know, yeah. Well, Lenny didn't see it in her perspective. I think she needed her mom to like say it like that for her to understand she shouldn't be avoiding her, maybe. At one point, Miles said, "Lenny, I'll do anything you ask me to." And he's so right, like, period. That's like literally he will do anything she asks her to. She calls and he's there in like 5 minutes. I have so many things highlighted, but like they're long ones. But this one was a grief quote from Miles, and I thought it was I thought it was a good quote. And it says, grief is a relationship. It's the way we figure out how to keep loving them even though they're gone. And in order to do that, we have to keep on going and going and going. You're not betraying her by healing. You're honoring her. You're learning to love her exactly as she is. As someone who isn't here anymore, that's who she is now. In this journey through grief, it's what we do for the great loves of our lives.
Sometimes you need to hear that too, because I feel like there is a guilt in moving on, like how that's kind of what caused her spiral in her going to the cemetery, was because she realized she was having feelings for Miles, and this guilt of like moving on and being happy about something. Like sometimes you have this like heavy feeling of like, but this like terrible loss just happened to me, so like I shouldn't be happy. Yeah. And it's like, but that's not true.
Yeah. And I think more towards the end of it, yeah, Miles was waiting for her to realize it before. Like, he had his own list at the end of it, and he, like, needed her to, like, come to those terms by herself.
When she unveils that she cut her hair, but, like, in a healthy way, because it wasn't because she was spiraling, but because she wanted to. Yeah. And that was on his list of, like, she cuts her hair, but it's like, oh, yeah. I was like, oh, my God.
I know. I love him. This part was the part I was talking about, the quote. He said, or she said, "You've thought about kissing me before that moment just now, I mean." He goes still. It doesn't matter that there's 8 feet of free fall between us. My blood is racing like he's inches away and leaning in. Yes. And I was like, I just love the way she describes things. Like, you can really feel how Lenny's feeling. That part was so good.
She definitely has a talent for that.
Yeah. Oh, and this one, Lenny said, "Why should I be scared of kissing you, Miles? I'd just be getting even closer to the safest place in the world. Let's just call me whatever." He, like, pinches her lips closed, and he says, "Lenny, when I look at your face, I feel like I'm finally home after a really long day at work."
That is like, literally one of the most romantic things I've ever read in a book before, period.
I loved that. I read that, and I was like, yeah, really showing how he feels. And I like how they don't say it just, like, outright. They're not like, "I like you. I like you, too. Yeah. I like how you do this for me." She, like, shows it.
And showing it in different ways. I like that. Because I like that in writing, where the author's not just, like, telling you everything. Like, you need to, like, use the context clues or, like, different mannerisms that are being described.
She tells him, like, don't sleep or whatever. And he says, like, he's not sleeping. He's just, like, closing his eyes because he's committing the moment to memory. And then she thinks back to every single moment she's noticed Miles with his eyes closed, like, at the tattoo parlor, at, like, the camping trip and all these places. And she's like, he wasn't whatever. Like, he was committing the memory. Whatever. Oh my God. Why was he, like, so romantic towards the end of it? I was like, this is what Miles needed too. Was Lenny.
I feel like it was too him opening up a little bit, where I definitely feel like there are crumbs you can find throughout, like, the start and middle of the book of, like, that, like, how she could trace back to, like, when he would do these things. I definitely feel like there were even a few moments that I remember catching throughout the book, but I feel like he just wasn't comfortable showing those emotions, like, very outwardly, whereas, like, at the end of the book, he's more comfortable showing those things outward.
Yeah, I did say this when I was reading it, that when I started to realize that, like, I was enjoying, like, their relationship and how it was going and how Miles cared for her, that I kind of wished, not that I knew how I would feel towards this part, but, like, when I first started reading it, I would have paid attention a little bit more, or, like, maybe going back and rereading the beginning after, like, knowing how they end up and how he ends up caring for her. I think I would appreciate kind of the beginning. Because, like, when you get the full picture, you can understand how Miles was acting in the beginning and all this.
That's with every book. I feel like I remember feeling like that the first time that I reread Beach Read. I was like, you dissect their interactions a lot differently.
Yeah. Because I feel like you understand them better. So, like, seeing them in the beginning, like, maybe, well, I probably wouldn't have been, like, not enjoying it as much because I thought that Miles was just grumpy and was not going to change. But it's because he was also going through a hard thing. And it's one of those things you just never know what people are going through. So, the only part that not the only part I didn't like, but, like, one part that really got me was the first intimate scene. Do you remember how cringy it was?
Yeah, unfortunately, I started skipping through that because I was like,
There were some parts during it, like, in her point of view, like, she was, there's, like, something about, it was just so cringy, but, like, usually those scenes don't cringe me out. I don't know if I've only been cringed out one other time in a spicy scene from a book, and it was, like, so bad, but this one was more, like, the things that Lenny was just, like, saying and doing. It's like, Lenny.
Oh. It was giving Jess from New Girl. When you watch the episodes of Jess, like, in New Girl, oh my gosh, it was giving that. I was like, oh, God.
Yeah. But, yeah, I did end up, like, when I finished the book, I was like, that was a really good romance book. And, like, I loved the slow burn of it. Like, you needed the slow burn to get to where they were and to heal with each other through the end of it. So, I really liked it. And I'm kind of glad it was my first one by her. Because I liked Ready or Not, because I read it after, but I think I liked Promise Me Sunshine more. What did you rate Ready or Not?
I gave that one a 4 stars.
I like that she writes about, like, real life things that people go through, and it's not, like, focusing on, like, the romance. It's more like the romance kind of helps the main character through whatever they're going through.
Well, in Ready or Not, it was the same way, where the love interest in that book, he just really helps her through her situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, and I like that. I can read my review now, but it's everything I just said.
It's okay.
Let me find it. Okay. Here's what I said. It's longer than I thought. Okay. I said, oh, how sweet with this book. At least the second half. First impressions weren't great. I honestly didn't love either character and couldn't fathom a romance occurring, but then it made sense. Lenny's in no shape for anything romantic and needs an anchor of some sort, and in comes Miles. He's been through firsthand what Lenny's currently feeling, and the way he guides and helps her, I ended up loving. Their relationship was so slow burn, but seeing them connect in a very personal way, I really enjoyed. Miles ended up being so thoughtful and caring and definitely grumpy, but the development was there. Lenny was so awkward and cringy, but getting to know her personality, I had to let her do her. I absolutely loved the way the author handled grief, knowing it's never going to leave you, but it can get easier some days, and how a companion to relate to and lean on may help the pain. I also love the way the author describes feelings and moments, so much showing rather than telling, and it was wonderful. And then I put 3 of the quotes that I read before underneath it, because they were so good. Like the one when he said, Lenny, when I look at your face, I feel like I'm finally home after a long day. And the one where she said, Mom, he walked into hell and dragged me back out. They were so good. So I put them there.
I really enjoyed the book, like you said, after the first part of it. Also, Sarah's literally on her review game for Goodreads. And meanwhile, I'm out here being like, review to come.
Yeah, RTC.
and you guys will stay waiting. Yeah. You guys will stay waiting.
You're leaving them on the edge of their seat. I'm enjoying the reviews, but it's like, I like to write them like right after I finish the book, so it's like fresh on my mind, and then like I'll tweak them a little bit as the time goes on. But I like it because since I don't do like wrap up so often, I like to have a place where like at least if it's not in a video, there's like a thought somewhere. Because sometimes if I give a book like, I don't know, like it's a low rating 2-star, and then I never talk about it, and then people are like, what happened? And I just go silent. You'll never know.
That's me. I stay moving and silent. I think I'm realizing that about myself, is that I just literally like do things and just I won't.
Mm.
I'm leaving y'all with like a 1 to 2-star review, and you guys will never get the explanation for it. Just expect that from me at this point. Just don't expect an explanation from anything that you see.
That's okay. Are you reading anything now?
April to May, we have a bunch of new releases, so I'm kind of trying to like fill those out. I'm listening to the Let Them Theory right now. I told you guys that.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Went into that spiel at the very beginning of the podcast. But I do think I'm wanting to start The Conditions of Will, because I'm just very interested to see Jessa Hastings writing outside of the Magnolia Parks universe, and if it's like still eating, which I expect it to, because I just feel like that's her writing style, period. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited for that one. And then I also just have like a few on my radar, but actively reading right now, no.
All right.
What about you?
Okay. You're listening. I'm listening also to Let Them Theory. Taking me a while because like I have to like be doing things when I'm listening to, and haven't been like doing much to be listening. Say You'll Remember Me, I'm reading. Enjoying that one. And then I also think I might do Conditions of Will next. I don't know. It's like one of those things. I love Magnolia Park so much, and like I didn't love Never. I'm just like nervous about another Jessa release. I'm like, it's one of those where my expectations are so high that I'm putting it off now.
And I get what you mean, because I feel like that's me with all of my new releases, especially after last year when I didn't really love Funny Story, by Emily Henry, like, obviously I'm excited for Great Big Beautiful Life to come out, but I'm not, like, giving it the hype that I used to give an Emily Henry new release.
Yeah.
Like, I've noticed that.
I know. Just have to, like, lower your expectations, read it when you're ready for it. It's like when you're so excited for a new release, you read it on release day, and it's like all of the hype you put on it.
See, I feel like I've lost that a little bit. Like, I feel like I don't feel the need to, like, go through it and, like, read it very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, I'll get to it when I get to it. So I feel like that also helps with the, what do you want to call it? The hype that I build up in my brain. Expectations, hype. But I will say, from a viewer standpoint, hold on, trying to get my glasses on, everybody. Okay, I'm just going to keep them off my face like that for a second. Never was a very interesting
I can't take you serious with those glasses.
I'm trying. Okay, wait. Now they're just crooked. Mm-hmm.
Well, I have more hope a little bit of this one because it's more, I'm pretty sure, romance.
Yeah.
Since Never was a fantasy and a retelling and all, that's like a different genre and a different take.
See,
so.
But that was the thing with Never, is it wasn't fully fantasy. Like, it still gets put in the romance. So it's like you kind of just had this, like, retelling, but didn't fully, like, what do you want to say, commit to fantasy. So it was just weird. Yeah. That's why I never picked it up, because I was like, just the combination that we have here is a little off. So I feel like Conditions of will be better.
Fingers crossed. I probably will. It'll be one of my next reads. I just bought Deep Cuts. The one, I think Haley gave it 5 stars, if I'm not mistaken. She really liked that one.
I've been seeing people recommend that, and then I think I got it recommended in my comments when I was talking about Talking at Night, or some book like that. And I remember somebody recommending me Deep Cuts. I don't even know what that book's about, but I have been seeing that.
I just know, I think someone recommended me after I talked about the favorites too, because I think it's about 2 characters that connect on, like, music and stuff like that, and, like, artists and songs and stuff, but I said that I like toxic books, and, like, they said it's toxic, so I said I'm there, and I bought it. So, we'll see.
The talks, I remember reading A Love Letter to Whiskey, and Sarah was like, wait, don't fully tell me, because, like, you saying that they're really toxic is going to get me to read.
Well, people are also telling me to read that, but then so many people say it's, like, giving, like, Wattpad toxic, and I'm like, should I read it?
But here's the thing.
You said that too, I think.
You'll still like it because it's toxic, which is a crazy sentence to say, but
I don't know why I like that so much.
But you know how I had the same reaction with, like, some of the stuff we were pulling in that book as I did with that one book that I sent I remember you the long text message about.
I think, like, I don't need it to be, like, so toxic. Like, I don't need it to be, like, crazy, but, like, with the favorites, it's like I like when characters aren't, like, in a, like, in regular, like, romance books, it's like, you know, it's going to be picture perfect by the end of it, wrapped in a bow. And I like when they, like, make real mistakes and, like, act like real people and not just, like, lovey-dovey characters sometimes. So
that's funny though, because I literally I've said this somewhere where I'm like, when I read my fiction books, there's more room for error in the relationship, and that, and what I mean by that is, like, oh yeah, like you said, if a character makes a mistake, if they do this, if they do that, but, like, when I'm reading a romance book, if they did the same thing that these characters are doing to this book, I'm like, no. And there's more of, like, an element of surprise. Like, you don't really know where the story could go because these characters can make any decision that you wouldn't off
make.
the table for those of you who don't know.
Are you waving bye?
No, I'm just like, nobody can see me at this point because I don't have a camera rolling because my camera's dead.
Is it just me right now?
Yeah.
Hey guys. Okay. Don't worry, I'll end it off. Let us know your Promise Me Sunshine ratings, what you thought, any of your favorite quotes, maybe a scene you didn't like, if you didn't end up liking the book. This one I will say is my favorite so far of our Bookmark'd books this year. We'll see what tops this one, if anything does. And I'm excited for Say You'll Remember Me. Let us know if you're getting the book, if you're going to read it along with us.
Remember me.
Cue Taylor Swift. And thank you guys for listening and watching and tuning in. We will see you next week with another episode. We love you.
Bye.